Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. My name is Amber Zeuner, and I am an associate attorney here with the Miller Elder Law Firm today to discuss with our wonderful guest, Star Bradbury, how using tech can help you stay independent. Just as some preliminary matters, for those of us who've joined us before, you are aware, and for our new friends joining us today, these webinars are recorded. You will get a recording generally within 24 hours after the webinar concludes. So if you have any way you want to review, you're certainly welcome to do so. They are also uploaded to our YouTube channel. So if you have friends or family who you think would also be interested, certainly feel free to shoot that link over to them once you receive it. As far as our topic today, we have Ms. Star Bradbury joining us. You probably recognize her from some of our previous webinars. If you have watched those, if not, certainly feel free to jump onto our YouTube channel if you think that that would be something you're interested in. But she is a former licensed administrator and executive director for both an assisted living facility and memory care facility. And Star has a broad understanding of the variety of options and choices families face. Her 18 years working with a nationally recognized life care community, specifically OCAMIC at the University of Florida here in Gainesville, allows her to share her experience in this otherwise confusing and complex senior living option as well. She also is a founder of Senior Living Strategies and author of Successfully Navigating Your Parents' Senior Years. And she regularly collaborates and consults with individuals and families from all walks of life, as well as professionals in the legal, medical, financial, and long-term care insurance world. So please welcome Star here today, and I'll let her do a brief introduction of herself.
Thank you. Thank you, Amber. Well, I'm a huge fan of Miller Elder Law Firm and what you offer to seniors, a much broader program to help seniors beyond, of course, just the wills and the trusts and the estate planning. I think you all know that Shannon's vision is to really offer a broader level of support. And in fact, I think she's the only elder law attorney I know that has a social worker on staff, which I think is just so important to help you address so many issues that we face as we're all trying to age successfully. But I loved covering this topic because in my 25 years in senior living and talking with thousands of families, I think the thing that comes up the most is the desire to stay independent for as long as possible. And for those of you that want to age in place, which means just staying in your home, wherever your home may be, technology has come so far, Amber, in being able to provide all kinds of tools that will help you stay independent for a much longer time. And so our goal today, Amber and my goal, is to share some very specific information with you with a little bit of a disclaimer in that while we are going to mention specific services and specific products, obviously we haven't tried every single one of them out for ourselves, but they're all highly recommended online and come up in various websites about being reliable and good. But really, we understand that you're going to have to choose what would work for you, what's the right product, what your need is, how technology could help you. And so we just want to say, yes, we're making recommendations, but a little bit of a disclaimer here to remind you that it's up to you to do the research and see what works for you.
And I think as far as what we're going to be talking about today, with Star's background and information that she has put together, these are options that may or may not work for you. It really depends on your specific circumstances and what your needs are. So it's always good to talk with your helpers, counsel if you have it, or whoever is your soundboard to see which of these, if any, will help in your specific situation. With that said, we're going to go ahead and get started on talking about how using tech can help you stay independent. If you have any questions, feel free to pop them below into the chat, and we'll try and get the ones as we go through the slides that are relevant to those topics. But we will also have a Q&A set for the end of our presentation today, where we can help answer hopefully any questions that are related to today's topic. So let's go ahead and get started. I think we're going to just start with a brief overview of what it is we're going to be talking about today. So that is a number of topics, actually, for how technology can help you stay independent and at home. And we'll delve into each one of these a little more as we go. But go ahead and let us know why some of these are more important, I think.
Thank you, Amber. So when I started to do some research for this, of course, a lot of things came to mind immediately. But with tech making such amazing progress, even year to year, I had to update some of my research. And I was surprised when I started thinking, oh, well, there's just so many areas of your life that it would help with. So obviously, help with transportation. We're going to break this all down on the following slides. Help with food and shopping. And I'm guessing you're mentally clicking off, oh, yes, that's true. I've ordered my groceries delivered, especially during COVID. We all had to get quickly comfortable with a lot of this technology. Help with safety and security, such as a medical alert system or a medication management system, and especially fall detection, and monitor health and wellness. And that is really a field that's grown. And of course, how many of us have used Zoom or FaceTime to stay connected with family and friends, or even telehealth? And then we're going to talk about a few financial apps and bank alerts and different programs that can protect you from scams and from financial abuse. And let's not forget that the entire purpose of any of this technology is to give you some peace of mind and your family some peace of mind.
Yes, that is why we want to talk about these topics today. So starting with the first one, transportation options. This is really such an important aspect in order to maintain your independence. Just from our side of things as an elder law firm, transportation can be one of those challenges for solo seniors if you're no longer driving, and just getting, the necessary items that you need at home, or getting to necessary places for doctor's offices, visits, and the like. So Star, tell us a little bit about what you found on this and some options that are out there.
Thank you, Amber. Well, I have to say that in all my years of senior living and working at different facilities and communities like Okemah, and then with my consulting business, the one thing that has the greatest effect in terms of independence is someone deciding to give up their driver's license. But that's what's so wonderful about what I'm about to share with you. I'm sure you have all heard of Uber and Lyft, and I didn't go into a great amount of detail, except I did, just for the fun of it, price out an Uber ride from my house in Forest Ridge, let's say to Shan's hospital, just to give you an idea about what would that cost if you've never used it. And I think it was $9.27. That's for one way. But the interesting thing with Uber and Lyft is the prices aren't consistent. Sorry about that. The prices aren't consistent, meaning that if you're using Uber or Lyft during a prime busy time of the day, it's going to cost more. So they kind of gave me a range, like up to $14.20. And that is one way. Although I still think it's less than a traditional taxi service per se. But for those of you, and I'm sure you know about Uber and Lyft, but you may say, I just hate downloading an app and trying to put in all this information on your phone, and then wondering about all the different options about which ride to take and which driver and where you're sharing a ride. And it can be confusing. I made myself learn to use Uber and Lyft, and I want to encourage you as well. If you're remotely comfortable using your cell phone, your smartphone, to download apps, then you could try this, because once you've done it a few times, just like anything else, it becomes a lot easier. But I was very, very excited And I heard about this new company through a client about go-go grandparents. So this young man who was very close to his grandmother realized that she had trouble with all these traditional driving apps like Uber and Lyft. And so he developed a brand new company, but it's now national, where it simplifies the whole thing. So I called them up, had a long chat with a very, very nice person. Their customer service is excellent. And they take away the whole need to download any apps at all. In fact, I was shocked to hear you don't even need a smartphone. You do need a landline. Of course, a smartphone helps, and I would encourage, and I'm guessing all of you have one. However, if you don't like the whole downloading app thing, try out Go-Go Grandparents. They're reasonable. There is a monthly subscription, but you can set it up online or have someone help you set it online, set up a credit card on file. There's a value plan, $20.49 a month, that would allow you to get X number of rides. There's no cash. You're not handing a driver a credit card. It's all automated and then billed, and then they send you statements, and excellent customer service. Also, they will even do pharmacy pickups, grocery pickups. They will even help you do a referral for a home repair. So I think this company is great. It definitely fills a niche. And I think in the end, it might be more economical than Uber and Lyft. So I was happy to find out about that, Amber. Go Grandparents.
Yeah, it sounds really
Great
interesting as
concept.
far as filling
Yeah.
a niche that's needed. Definitely something that may be worth looking into if you're comfortable with those types of services and you want to, look into it a little more with family and friends. I think that's a good segue actually into your next section here that we talked about, which is food delivery systems. If you're not comfortable like having transportation options do that for you, there are a plethora of options out there to bring food to you. So let's talk a little
Absolutely.
bit about that.
Another thing that I've aware of with my experience is people get tired of cooking, especially if you're already a caregiver, let's say, and you
Hmm.
have a lot of other responsibilities and duties. Trying to add grocery shopping, planning meals, and cooking can be exhausting. And so my recommendation, if you're just tired of cooking, or you really need a break, why not think about one of these meal services to help you out, even if it's only 2 nights a week. And I would recommend that you try it, because Instacart delivers groceries right to your door. And a lot of people use that during COVID, I know. Now, the differences, let's talk about that. DoorDash and Grubhub actually pick up your food from your favorite restaurant and deliver it to your door. And it's not that expensive. So if you have a favorite restaurant, you want it all prepared, then look into those two companies, DoorDash or Grubhub. Silver Cuisine is actually already prepared food, meaning that it's not a meal kit like the ones we're going to talk about next. The food is prepared, it's flash frozen, it's delivered to your door. They use dry ice, and you can keep it frozen and then heat it up and eat it. So it's all ready. But what I liked about Silver Cuisine is obviously that silver is a little bit of a hint that it's designed for older adults, and they can accommodate special diets. So and they have a huge menu options, lots and lots of options for what you like, but they can do vegetarian, low sodium, no sugar, diabetic diets, gluten-free. So I was happy to find out about them. And then Blue Apron and Hello Fresh are meal kits, meaning you get to choose the meal that you want, and it arrives again with dry ice, but it's all fresh ingredients, meaning it's raw chicken breasts, it's raw vegetables, it's raw salmon, but everything you need along with a recipe arrives at your door, and you are putting this fresh food together. I had a chance to try one of these services that's local called Chef Ami. A friend of mine who gets tired of cooking and couldn't use one of her meals said, well, I'll give it to you. And I said, great, I'd like to try it. And it was awesome. And even though they said this was one serving, but you get 2 chicken breasts. And most of us, that means it's 2 meals, or for you and your spouse or partner. So most of the costs for these meals And these are the meal kits, are between $10 and $15, but you choose exactly the menu you want for your week. And when you think about what it costs to buy your groceries, drive to the store, bring them home, the time it takes to prep it, these are reasonable costs for very good food. So using tech to make sure you're getting proper nutrition and giving yourself a break is a big plus in my book, Amber.
Yeah, nutrition is such an important factor, especially for those I count myself among who do not enjoy cooking. But even those who just need that extra time. You've done this your whole life. Maybe you have helpers helping you with meals now, and this would help a couple days the week where you can get some meals
Exactly.
delivered, and that could help everyone involved, you and your family. So I think
Absolutely.
that these are wonderful
Absolutely. And
options.
it's a think of it as an investment in your sanity. For those of you that I've just heard from so many women, I'm just so tired of cooking. And it's not fair to say that men don't cook, because honestly, to be perfectly frank, my husband's a better cook than I am and does more of the cooking than I do.
I will
Lucky
second that.
me. Those of you that might know Mitchell, he's a great cook. I'm keeping him.
Yeah, so food delivery systems are a wonderful option, to see if they might, help with your quality of life and, give you a little more time back to do those activities you want to do, instead of being in the kitchen over a stove. The
So
ne-
go ahead.
Yeah, the next one is a really important topic because this is about falls, and falls are one of the most common reasons for why we start being concerned about keeping our independence and remaining at home. So, who would benefit from a medical alert or fall detection system is really it dependent on your circumstances. And Star, you have some experience seeing this, so tell us a little about
I
these.
do. I do. We all know, I bet every single person out there can think of a loved one, either an immediate family member, a friend, or neighbor who had a serious fall and it changed their life forever and maybe
Yeah.
compromised their independence in a very, very big way. So if you're wondering, and I hate to say this, but I had a conversation this morning with someone who desperately needs a medical alert system and absolutely won't get one. I'm always puzzled when I hear that, because if you really understand that a medical alert system could be your best friend in an emergency where you need help, and you, especially if you live alone or you're a caregiver for someone who you know is a fall risk, this is a backup plan, and they're not that expensive when you consider what you're getting in terms of bang for your buck. So if you're wondering, this is just a limited list. Poor balance, a history of falls, poor vision, which definitely affects falling, poor mobility, you live alone, you live out in a rural area, and you don't have neighbors nearby, any kind of cognitive issues, history of trips to the hospital, caring for an ill partner or spouse, every single person in that category, I believe and I advise, should have a medical alert system, because they're all designed, most of them, to really be your best friend. In fact, I moved my beloved stepfather closer to me years ago, but he lived about a mile away from me. And he was fortunately open-minded, and we did get a medical alert system for him. And on at least 2 occasions, it saved his life. And so
Yeah.
I have both personal and professional experience, and can't encourage you enough. You don't wait for the fall. You don't wait for the emergency to decide to get an alert system. You get it, be proactive, be ahead of the curve when you understand it is going to help you stay independent longer. And why? Because look at these facts. If the Center for Disease Control, and this is fresh off recent statistics, say that 3 million people over the age of 65 go to the ER every year. 800,000 of them are hospitalized. And we all know that the last thing you want is a hip fracture. 95% of hip fractures are obviously caused by falling. And it's the most common reason for traumatic brain injury. So, 1 in 4 older adults fall every year. Well, the first thing I would say is try not to fall. I know that sounds kind of, ridiculous, but really there's Tai Chi classes and balance classes that Elder Options in the Gainesville area provide all over Alachua County and beyond. if you don't live in Alachua County, for free. So I would say, you know, go to the Elder Options website and look at their balance classes and find out when they're offering them. By the way, they will offer a new class, Amber, if you get enough people together that are interested. So I
Okay.
just want to tell you that. By the way, the phone number for Elder Options is 1-800-262-2243. And you can find Elder Options online at www.agingresources.org. So work on your balance, work on your strength, keep your mobility up, but get a medical alert
And
system.
I think this goes into a very good point that you had made previously, which is on top of being your best friend, they're also not intrusive. So you don't have to have a person necessarily sitting in the corner of your room as, you know, a watcher, just companion. This medical detection device could be really helpful in maintaining your independence at home without actually having to have someone there 24/7 if falling is a concern that you have. Yeah, so what to consider when choosing a medical alert system? There's a number of different topics here, and a couple of them that I thought when I was reviewing this star were really important, such as the distance, range, and distance
Yeah,
of the devices. You know, heaven forbid something happens and you're not within that distance. You want to make sure that it's going to cover your
and there's
needs
a
as
big
far
difference.
as how far it is. Mhm. Battery powered, electric, or combo. The last thing you want, I think, is your electric device running out of a charge. So maybe a backup battery system would be really helpful as
Yes.
well. Tell
And,
me a little
and
bit about the other ones that
And
you have.
Amber, on that topic, the really good medical alert systems with PER, I put that in. The PERS is a personal emergency response system. I wanted you to be familiar with that term because it is used. And the last point on this slide, your long-term care insurance might pay for it, and sometimes they call it a PERS, a personal alert response system or medical alert system. So I wanted you to know those are the same thing. But Amber, to your point, a lot of the really good alert systems have a warning light or an alert that your battery is getting low, or if they're a combination and they're electric plug-in and you lose power, some of these, the really good ones, have 48-hour or more battery backup. And
That's
that's
amazing.
important. So, you know, when I started researching this a few years ago and then updating it for this presentation, I was like, oh my gosh, there's just a lot to consider. So I threw all this on here because if for no other reason you recognize that, don't buy the first thing you pull up and look at and go, well, I guess this looks good, because there's a lot to consider. And like Amber and I said, depending on your individual situation, but by response time, I mean, how fast when you have a medical alert system, there's a two-way intercom, and you want to know what their traditional response is. When you press that button, someone's going to come on that intercom from the customer service call center and say, Mrs. Smith, did you press your button? Are you okay? You want a response time that's short. And when you start doing investigations, all of this stuff is going to be online. And the response time should be 0 to 25 seconds. 0
Good
to
to
25
know.
seconds. They should be calling you back or back on that intercom and saying, are you okay? Did you press it by mistake? Should we call 911? And of course, if you don't answer at all, they are going to call 911. And some of these have a cost for installation, some don't. Some charge for the equipment, some don't. Some have what I would call a somewhat hidden activation fee. So these are questions to ask. And you want to know, what are their options? If it's a guy, they usually want something that's going to clip to their belt. They have nice bracelet ones now that you wear, kind of like a watch. There's necklaces that are attractive. So I'm amazed at some of the options. Most of these have a monthly subscription fee, and you can assume, and I go into costs in a little bit, but and I was kind of surprised, Amber, that a lot of these medical alert systems have an extra $10 a month for fall detection. Do it. It's
Mm,
worth it. You would think that they would include it, but okay, they want to make a little extra money. They know you're going to add that fall detection in, but almost all of them either had them included or an extra $10 a month. And the range,
Yeah.
as you said, why is the range important? Well, if you walk out to your mailbox and it's 1,400 feet away from your house, and the range is 1,400 feet, it's going to know that you fell out by the mailbox. Or if you have a big house. So don't get something that's only 600 feet when you know that it's going to be better for you to have a bigger range. And then the other thing is it really smart tooth compatible? Can it be connected or integrated with, let's say, your daughter who lives in town or someplace else through Bluetooth? And
Yeah.
almost all of these do alert 911, but they can also alert your caregiver, your closest person that has that information.
Which is
And
especially helpful for our solo
yes,
seniors out there.
yes, and the GPS feature, because that's, sometimes they have ones that you can take with you as you drive around town. That's extra, that's always more expensive rather than just within your home environment. So these are some things to consider. And back to you, Amber.
Yeah, so I think you had found on the National Council of Aging website their recommendations actually for some of these different options out there to see if they might work for you. So it looks like there's a handful that might be good for most situations, but definitely dig into them a little more and see which one has the features you want at the price you want. And then, Sarah, did you have any thoughts on them?
Well, I picked this photograph because this was actually one of the ones that they liked, Life Phone. You can see it has an intercom across the top, an emergency button, various other options. Oh, the wearable device in this case is both a bracelet or a necklace. You can only see the little bit of the string for the necklace. But these were the ones that showed up not just on NOAA, but regularly as the best ones on the market. And we don't have the time today to go through each single one and their advantages and their pros and cons, but these were all very well recommended. And I would feel comfortable with you investigating any of these and seeing how it works for you in terms of monthly fees and, and subscriptions and range and response times. So, I guess I'm going to go back. As you look into these, you kind of now know the best questions to ask. And just generally speaking, some of these have equipment charges that are a one-time fee of somewhere between 100 and 200. Some build that cost into a monthly subscription, and the subscriptions are generally somewhere between $20 and $35 a month. And again, you want to know, what does that cover? Does that cover the installation? Is there an activation fee or the equipment? But when people say, well, I don't really want to spend that extra money, I remind them about what it costs if you couldn't live in your home and you were trying to pay for community care and assisted or skilled. And we all know that that's somewhere assisted between 6,000 and 8,000 a month, and for skilled nursing between 10 and 12,000 a month or more. That's in this area. So this
Yeah.
is an investment in maintaining your independence. So
Yeah. And definitely one that is worth, I would say looking into if you're interested in it, to make sure that you can stay independent in that home as long as you are able to. And I think that is a great segue into managing medication, especially at home, whether it be you managing your medication or a helper, a loved one who's coming in to set your medication up, on a weekly basis or monthly basis, whatever it may be. There appear to be, from what I had talked about with Star, a number of options out there that
yes,
can help with this.
we're
So
getting
tell
smarter
us a
and
little about
smarter.
that. Yeah, I know I have trouble taking my daily vitamin on a
Oh
day-to-day
gosh,
basis. So if I
I
had more.
Amber, I laugh about that too. I have a very simple medical, regimen. I take about 1 or 2 pills a day, but I still go, I think I took that. Did I? So I know I'm going to be one of those people that is going to need a medication management system. Of course, my advice is take the least amount of medications possible. But having said that, the average senior is taking at least, maybe 3 times a day. And so if you're on a complex medication regimen, you're finding it a little overwhelming. And you are, especially like if you have Parkinson's, it's really important to take your medications in a very specific, timely fashion. You would benefit from a medication management system, any sort of cognitive issues. And the way I look at it, gosh, I wouldn't hesitate to get one of these systems because it would make your life easier and give you the peace of mind that, yeah, I did take my morning med and now I have an afternoon med. But if you're taking medications more than 3 times a day, I would say, look into these different systems and see what would work for you. So here's a what's to consider list as well, because once again, there's no one product that I can say, this is it. Why? Because there's so many things to consider. Here's a partial list of what to consider. So ease of use. Is it something you will use and you're comfortable with using? If your adult kid bought this for you and they think it's easy, but you think it's hard and you're not going to use it, then what's the point? So make sure if you're buying one or they want you to get one, that you shop with them and that it's something you like and you're going to use. Or is it just too complex? Of course, most of these are designed to be simple to use. However, some are simpler than others. Capacity. Are you taking meds 10 times a day or 3 times a day? Are you trying to set this up for 2 weeks, 30 days, or 90 days? Some of these can hold up to 90 days at one time. That means you load the machine for 90 days worth of medications and you don't have to load it again. So capacity has something to do with it. How many pills, what size? And let's say you're on a liquid medication. Well, obviously, some of these are not going to manage liquid, but believe it or not, some do. Alarm and reminder systems. Is there poor vision or hard of hearing? Because if there's poor vision, then you want flashing lights as reminders. If you're hard of hearing or there's a hearing issue, then you want loud volume reminders that increase the longer you're missing your medication. And all of these have volume controls and flashing lights and low battery alerts, safety and security features. If you've got people coming in and out of the house, like home care, well, you want to make sure that whatever meds are in there are locked. Nobody can get in there without a key or without destroying the equipment. So you want to make sure you can lock it and it's secure and that nobody, not anybody, can get in there at will. Okay. Tech integration, same thing as with the medical alert systems. Can it integrate with Bluetooth or companion apps? So some of these will alert your caregiver in a different state that you missed a medication. I mean, they're getting smarter and smarter with AI. The other thing is some of them look like coffee makers. They're actually quite attractive. And some look just like pill dispensers. So you can actually consider aesthetics, artistic aesthetic, and whether it's something that you like and fits into your environment. Again, most of these have a monthly fee and they average somewhere between $30 and $50 a month. Some have one-time costs for equipment too, Amber, you never know, but I would highly recommend you do your research. And if you fall into any of those categories and think about what would work for you.
And I'm going to jump in there for a quick second as well, because, as we get a little older, sometimes our children are helping us manage our medications, so we don't have to worry about it as much. And especially if they're at a distance, some of those longer term 90-day or 60-day presets, as well as the notifications if you've missed a medication reminder, can be very helpful for your loved one, making sure that you are on track and you're not missing your medications.
Absolutely.
Daily.
It goes back to the peace of mind. Again, all of these that are listed are in the online list of best. And you can go to the National Council on Aging website. You can go to consumer reports. And my advice is if you're doing your research, make sure you're looking at a .org website, not paid to advertise website, which I did my research. And these are all well recommended. And again, you want to look at that. What should I consider before you purchase or sign up for these? But a lot of them have a free trial basis, but these are the top ones. And again, extremely varied on cost, purchasing equipment, and monthly fee, or no purchase cost and just a monthly fee. And some of them give you the option to roll in the purchase cost into your monthly subscription over time, so you don't have that upfront cost of the equipment. But for all the reasons we talked about, think about whether this would help you. Oh, this was
Beautiful.
fun. This was fun, Amber, because if you ask me the greatest change in the last few years, I would say smartwatches. And I'm going to guess that some of you out there already have Apple Watches. I was interested that the Apple Watch didn't come up as the top watch for health monitoring. But look at what it can do. It monitors your heart, oxygenation, monitors afibrillation, AFib. Of course, it'll tell you your steps. So if you're trying to keep your mobility up, monitor sleep cycles. It can even, many of these, not all, can do an emergency SOS. And you wear it and it does all kinds of things. But cost was really, really varied, Amber.
Yeah.
$50 for a smartwatch, up to $400 if you want the latest Apple series. I will say that not every Apple Watch has health monitoring. It has to be a Series 8. I think it was a Series 7 or 8 and up, more recent, that has the ability for you to add that health monitoring.
And I am going to jump in here as well, because having an Apple Watch myself, you do get the notifications that these are not necessarily medical devices meant to
Right.
do these
They're not.
roles. These are more just tools to use, and maybe go to your doctor if you have concerns with something that has come up, but definitely not something to rely on for a diagnosis. If you have concerns or something looks a little strange, if you do have one of these devices, speak with a medical professional to make sure that you are going through the proper channels and have the right person looking at the issue.
True. It's not going to replace a doctor, and remember, it's not going to replace a medical alert either.
Yes.
Let's talk about apps that would help you monitor your money or help your families help you. And in fact, I noticed that a few weeks ago, Shannon interviewed Todd Roback, who is one of the co-founders of this company, getcareful.com. And I remember telling Shannon about this a couple of years ago, at least. And she was, I'm going to look into it. She made a great connection with Todd and had him on the webinar a few weeks ago. So Todd and another gentleman were the co-founders of this particular company, getcareful.com. And there are other apps. So I don't want to say this is the only one. It isn't. It's just the one that I'm most familiar with. And I know that Shannon is. And I know Shannon's recommended it. But what I like so much about this is that it will help you guard your money with email alerts about suspicious activities, large withdrawals, unusual transfers, duplicate bills, and I'm guilty of that.
Questionable transfers as well. If it's a
Questionable
nefarious
transfer.
source that's receiving it,
Yeah.
I would definitely recommend for those who think this would be helpful to them and helping a loved one or themselves, to go to our YouTube channel and watch that last webinar
Great
recording
idea.
to get some information directly from the source of the person who was a founder of it.
Absolutely. That's a really good recommendation. It offers $1 million in scam protection. It monitors your identity for identity theft and credit monitoring. It helps with passwords and document storage, bill organization, title monitoring. I'm sure you've all heard of the scam where somebody has a fake title document and sells your house. It's hard to believe, but it's true. That is one of the scams going on out there. And what I loved about this is you choose who you want to share this information with. So for example, you might decide to share it with your power of attorney or a trusted family member so that they get an alert as well. And the annual fee is $2.99, and there's a monthly fee of about $24.99, but you can do a free 30-day trial. But I have to tell you, in the last month, I've had 3 clients who were scammed of serious amounts of money. So again, just like I advise you with the fall detection and the alert systems, you don't wait till after the scam to have a response. Be proactive. The FBI just released statistics that said scams have gone up 400% for seniors this year. So protect yourself ahead of time. Use technology to help you stay independent and protect your money. So big fan of this kind of approach.
Yeah.
We have one other thing I wanted to just jump in, and I'm mindful of our time, Amber, so I'm going to jump in here.
Perfect.
There's another company that I've come across a couple of years ago called Silver Bills. It's a concierge bill paying. And for those of you that feel like, yeah, I do need some help paying my bills and managing my money, but I don't have a family member to help me. I don't want any of my family members to help me. And I'm not really tech savvy. I don't really want to do all of this bill paying online and automatic withdrawals. What I love about this company, a little like GoGo Grandparents, is it's designed for seniors who are not tech savvy and don't really want to do everything online, or they want help to be able to do that. Well, they have a dedicated account professional in the United States in their customer support, the same person you're going to keep talking to, not a random person, who gets to know you, gets to know what your situation is. You can actually mail your bills to them, not scan them, not handle everything online. Mail your bills, have a phone call, not a Zoom call. They can accommodate you wherever you are in the area of needing help. You can share that information with family or not. And the average is about $50 a month, up to $99 a month. And you can see that they have a lot of services, Amber, that are
Yes.
specifically for an older adult who needs help, wants help, doesn't want a family member helping, but wants a dedicated professional that they get to know and that helps them.
That's a wonderful option if it's something that works for people who are in those situations to look into.
Yeah,
Exactly.
silverbills.com. Okay, this was a really fun, I think, ingenious app that filled a niche. And I actually spent an hour on the phone with this young woman who's brilliant, a software engineer and founder, CEO of Inner Hive. And while the name kind of gives me, like bees, however, if I took this right from their website, and as you can see, it's not necessarily only for adults. In this example, obviously, there's a 4-year-old girl, Eleanor, who probably has a lot of medical needs or a lot of people helping her for whatever reason. But imagine that this would also be for seniors. So what this app does is that it organizes information in these little cells. So example, you could have under medical and home, you might have cardiologist, urologist, gastroenterologist, Shan's information, North Florida, hospital, medication history, choices of pharmacies, specialists, under mental health, therapy, community support and family support. That means that anybody that you allow to share this information, it's very highly protected, obviously, and HIPAA compliant, would allow anyone in your circle of family or friends to go to this site and very quickly and easily find extremely well-organized information about you without, the difficulty of lots and lots of emails back and forth.
And I can imagine this being very helpful in the circumstance where you have one individual who's your primary helper, but you want to make sure your secondary or third helper have the ability to step in and do what needs to be done in the case that there's an emergency and your first helper is not able to anymore.
Exactly. And, you don't know what's going to happen in the future and you want to be prepared. And again, to me, the whole purpose of talking about technology is to use some of these tools that weren't available years ago to allow you to age in place successfully. And I love this app. I just thought it was a really great way of organizing a lot of complex information. Well, everybody can relate to this slide. I love this picture.
Remote
We all
connection.
learned Zoom. And if you haven't, I would encourage you to. Whether you use FaceTime or Zoom, and all the clients that I work with, they love Zoom now. Most of them, we all got a little burnout, but it is a wonderful, powerful tool for you to stay connected to family, friends, and community. For example, the Alachua County Senior Center through Elder Care, the one up on right, I guess it's, wanted to say Waldo Road, but that's not right. They have half their classes are on Zoom or in person. You can do lifelong learning classes on Zoom. You can schedule weekly calls with your family and your kids. You can ask your doctor if they do telehealth for some appointments, because we don't want anybody to get isolated and lonely, which is easy. It's easy for that to happen. But this is a technology that would really help you stay connected.
And I do want to address real fast here, because I do want to leave some time for any questions at the end. But telehealth, especially if you have, trouble getting to your doctor, or you need something more immediate, but you can't schedule that transportation as fast as you would like. Telehealth is a wonderful potential option in those situations, I think.
And right, like you say, for the right medical situation, you don't necessarily need a physical exam. And they may say, well, yes, do lab work. Well, then that's when you could either use go-go grandparents to get you to the lab. So this was really fun. Could robots be the answer? Oh my gosh, with the explosion of AI, there's service robots and companion robots. And service
I
robots.
think my favorite one on this slide is the robot dogs.
Oh, you know what? There used to be a few years ago just sort of one robot dog. Well, I looked it up and there must be 10. And what I thought was really cute is they're robot dogs for adult companions or for children, So maybe you can't have a real dog, but the robot dogs they're really cute. You should watch some of the videos. But the service robots, there's one that's like a butler, an AI butler robot. So let's say you're either on a walker. Well, if you absolutely need that walker or even a cane, how are you going to carry a plate full of food or all your laundry to your room or back and forth to the dining room table? There is a butler robot that you can put and program to follow you to the laundry room and bring your clothes back. And then it really is technology that will help you. You've probably all seen the robot vacuums, and there's robot pool cleaners, and there's the robot butler, but it is like having an extra pair of hands. Now,
Also, the robot lawnmower.
Yeah, that's true. But the companion robots, especially, and this one is a picture of the LEQ that I mentioned. Simple and easy to use, voice command. She's actually doing a Tai Chi class online that she asked LEQ, find me a free Tai Chi class. And this woman is participating from a chair and doing some basic Tai Chi and balance things. So they're also really great as companions for anybody with cognitive issues or that's lonely. The research shows that it really does make a difference. So robots, they're expensive. I didn't put a price up here. I'd say they're probably in the neighborhood, Amber, of 2,000-3,000, maybe more. But again, compare that to what long-term care costs in a senior living facility, and it's beginning to sound more and more like an investment that would help you maintain your independence.
Certainly. And then, so while you go through some of these slides, I know you have your quote here and then a couple more references. We talked some about these issues, but tell me like the 3 biggest reasons that some of our seniors end up losing their independence.
Well, I think, as I said in the beginning, one of the biggest reasons is you give up driving. Although I encourage people to give up driving when the time is right, rather than clinging to driving, because it's dangerous if it's dangerous to yourself and to others, especially if you become familiar with some of this technology or through go-go grandparents, there's no reason why you can't go wherever you need to go. And so if you said, what are the 3 reasons people end up in the hospital? I would say, Amber, that's falls, which we covered, the importance of fall detection.
Yes.
Try to prevent the fall to begin with. Falls, medication mismanagement, taking the wrong pills, not taking them enough, diet and nutrition. Those are the biggest reasons that seniors end up in the hospital. And so all of this technology addresses that. the food ordering apps and the food ordering options, the meal kits and meals delivered to your door, driving options, the medical alert, the medication management. This lines right up with avoiding the biggest pitfalls of losing your independence because something's happened in one of those areas. And I love this quote. First of all, I love this woman's face. What a fabulous face. I mean, that is a face with joy, happiness, and character, and a life well lived. So I love this picture. But long-term planning, this is my favorite quote that I made up. Long-term planning is not about making long-term decisions. It is understanding the consequences of today's decision on the future you. Now, remember, that future you could be next week, next month, in 3 months, next year. Your future you that wants to stay independent and age in place successfully would appreciate you actually taking action on some of these tech devices that will help you before the emergency, before the fall. So that's my message, is to really think about not putting this on the back burner, Amber, and thinking and having a chat either with me or with the Miller Elder Law Firm, since you're connected with them, or a trusted advisor on what are the best products, what are the best services, what are the apps you could download that you will be so happy, your future you will be so happy that you've been able to do. There's my book. I'm guessing most of you have heard about my book, but just in case, published a book last year based on my 25 years in the senior living. And while it says successfully navigating your parents' senior years, usually people say, my parents aren't here anymore, sadly, but true. However, this is a book that you can read and apply to yourself, and certainly share with your adult children or anyone in a supportive role. And people tell me all the time that they buy the book for their children, read the book together, and then have a conversation and talk about developing a plan that works for both of you. So it really is a step-by-step guide. It's available on Amazon or any website. It's also Audible. I think it's like $16.77 on Amazon. And I also have a bunch of free resources on my website, Amber, under the resource tab about useful websites, questions to ask when touring facilities, questions to ask when hiring a home health care.
Beautiful.
So here's my last slide. That's
Perfect.
That's
so while we leave it on
a little
that,
more makeup.
while we leave it on that, we've got about a couple minutes left. If anyone has any questions, go ahead and pop them into the chat. I don't see any at the moment, but certainly we've got a couple minutes to answer any if you do have a question for Star while we have her on.
I'd be happy.
Otherwise, I think that's all. We're going to wrap up for today on how tech can help you remain independent. Again, feel free. There was a lot of information today, so you will get a recording of this as well as the link to pass along to family and friends. Just like Star was saying, you can pass resources to your children to read. This might be one to give them some things to Google if you don't want to do the internet searches. So definitely a good webinar, I think. Thank you, Star, for joining us. And we're going to close up.
Okay. Thank you all for coming. I really, really hope that you take something away that's useful and helpful for you.
Yes. Thank you all for joining, and we will see you next time.